Welcome back, Gems, to another wonderful episode of the Grateful Gem podcast. I'm your host, Jasmine Shannelle, and today's topic is finding your identity. Stick around because gems are definitely about to be dropped. So get ready. I need everyone listening to this podcast episode to follow us on Instagram at The Grateful Gem Pod and also follow me at Jasmine Shannelle. Don't worry, I spelled everything out and left it in the notes below. Take a look. See you there. Now let's get into this episode. Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of the F.Y.I series. If you haven't heard about this or you don't know what I'm referring to, I've started a series called Find Your Identity. So last week we talked about a note to yourself, so dear you, and we talked about being able to be over the influence of living a life that other people created for you, or the person that was created by other people. So I'm really excited because today is going to be part 2, and I'm really geeked up about it, you guys. I'm so excited because this is honestly something that's been reflecting over to me recently, and I'm definitely going to get into that in this episode. But first, if you haven't heard the last episode, please go back and listen to the first episode before you hear this one so that you can be caught up and you know how to gear your mindset into what we're about to talk to, because y'all know I keep it real and I definitely want you to get everything that you need from this series. So excited. Let's get into this episode. So again, today is going to be part 2 of the F.Y.I series. This is going to be a 4-part series. We're halfway there. Go you, go me. So excited. So before I get started, I just want to honestly say thank you for pressing play. Thank you for listening to me go on for however long I'm going to be on this episode. Thank you. I hope that you're taking information and knowledge from these episodes. I don't want you just playing them and listening to them. Save them, record them, whatever you got to do to get where you need to go. That's what it's here for. So I'm super duper excited. I'm pretty sure y'all can hear that in my voice right now, but I'm super excited because I really think that this series is not going to help enough people that I can even think about. It's going to help more than I can even imagine. Again, you guys know that I only want to look at one person, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like if I gain or help at least one person a day, I'm doing my due diligence. But if I gain 2 people, 3 people, that's it for me. God is really working on me in this season to be able to help you work through what it is that you're going through. And I'm so excited that I have listened to this idea when God gave it to me last week. Again, you guys know that this was not supposed to be the topic. But God had plans and this is his show. So at the end of the day, we do what he say. So let's dive in. So today is going to be part 2, Dear Past. So last week we talked about dear me, dear myself, dear you, yourself. Talked about how we are no longer going to be committed to living a life that people created us to live, that we're going to be living a life that God created us to live. And in order to do that, you have to confront your past. And it's crazy because my past has literally been slipping up on me in this season. I actually just got off a business call with my accountability / business partner, my girl Brianna. We just got off a call not too long ago, and our calls always go over. We always end up talking about personal life too, but I was literally just telling her that I feel like I'm in a season of overflow. I'm also in a season of testing. God is really testing me, and I don't know. And I also feel like I'm in a season of attack, like I'm being attacked. And I really don't know if it's just a test or if it's just literally the devil attacking me, because you guys know I don't want to give credit to the devil what he ain't do. Because at the end of the day, this could literally just be a test from God, not an attack by the enemy. So I feel like I'm just in between. Like right now, I really don't know if it's a test or if it's me being attacked. Some days I'm up, some days I'm down. Right now, I'm just like in the middle. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And it's crazy because the craziest things just happen. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, I just cannot make this stuff up. So anyways, moving right along. So I feel like I'm at a point where I have done things to where I'm not I'm no longer the person that I used to be. So certain things that I used to do, I don't do those anymore. Certain mindsets that I used to have, I don't keep those anymore. So I'm at a point where it has been, and it's really been easy, to just say that I'm not going to do that. And it hasn't. I can't say it's really been easy because I honestly wasn't tempted with those situations. But now here I am in a situation where those past tendencies have the tendency to show up. And it's like, are you going to do what it was that you said you weren't going to do? Or are you going to stick to what you said you wouldn't do? So I'm like, taking a deep breath, trying to figure out, is this a test or is this an attack? I don't know which one it is. And it's just like, should I move forward or should I not? So I definitely think that this is awesome, being that, like I said, we're talking about your past. So as you guys know, last year around this time I did a fast, and I decided that I was going to live the God first life, and that anything that I did, I was going to put God first. And that's what I've been doing. I've been putting God first, making sure that everything that I do is lined up with what He does. So I recently let go of a relationship that I was in, and now it's been, up to this point, has been really, really, easy just to move forward, because I wasn't tempted with reaching out to him. I wasn't tempted with looking back over everything. Of course, sometimes it crosses my mind, but I'm like, no, I'm on the right path. I'm doing good. I'm just going to focus on myself, because I feel like, this is a season where I'm working on me. And so honestly, that's what I've been doing. So here lately, it's just been crazy, because not only has this person reached out to me, but an ex-boyfriend before him reached out. And I'm just like, this is normally the person that I talk to whenever me and my recent ex isn't together. So I'm like, I told myself that I was no longer going to do this, because I didn't want to, one, play with this person's feelings, knowing that I wasn't going to go anywhere. Two, just pass time with people or with a person that I really didn't see myself hanging around, like a person that I can't really, say that this is going to create something out of anything, because I know that the potential that this person has doesn't accomplish or complement my potential. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to be by myself in this moment, just work on myself, not talk to nobody unless it was a person that I'm potentially dating or a prospect of me dating, but only if this person pursues me in the right way, and all that good stuff. So I was like, okay, cool. So now it's just like, it's at a point where I'm like, okay, this was easy when I said it, but now I'm just so tempted, because, and then it's like, my previous ex-boyfriend, not only did you write me once, but you wrote me again last week. So I'm like, oh, like, this is so tempting, because I'm not gonna lie, I have my moments where I'm just like, man, I wish I had a person that I could just talk to or just be around. And I don't know if that's just God testing me, like, you know what you agreed, what you said you wasn't gonna do, or is it just the devil saying, I know what you said, I know what you agreed with God, but I'm gonna tempt you to step out of that commitment to God and go back to the person that you used to be. And so I really think this is really cool, because it lets me know that at the end of the day, I have to, one, be able to discern. And right now, I can't really say who it's from. I don't know if it's just a test or if it's actually a form of me being attacked. But I feel like regardless, the outcome should still be the same. I should still be able to say that I got through this the best way that I felt was how I should handle it. So I really feel like, this could have been anything. Say if, you're trying to eat better, you're trying to change your ways, change your eating habits, and the tendency to eat sugar or crave out when junk food comes up. And it's like, I know what you committed to your body. You said you wasn't going to do this, but are you going to really do it? And I really feel like, we have to deal with our past and be at a point where we can really be at peace with the decisions that we made in our past, so that when our past comes back, we have the upper hand to really deal with that situation the way that they're supposed to be dealt with, and that we're not making the same mistakes over and over, and that open wounds are left as wisdom, and that we're not acting out of emotions, that we're able to move forward. And I really was like, this is crazy. And I had to remind myself, like, Jasmine, the past is no longer your present, and it's not going with you in the future. So I had to tell my past that I'm no longer the person that I used to be. I no longer want to be in situations where I know that I'm not going to gain anything. Like, I'm not going to give something to someone else. What's the good thing for me to be sitting here communicating with somebody that I know is not going to really take me intellectually to a different place, that's not going to physically or mentally grow me, that's not going to, and I'm vice versa, not going to do the same for that person. So it's just like we're just passing time. And I told myself, I'm not putting myself in that situation because I feel like that I was doing so good. And the moment that you're doing so good, something happens and it's like, wait a minute, this is so crazy. And like you guys know, I don't believe in coincidences, so I feel like everything happens for a reason. And I don't really know, honestly, I can't say I don't really know the right way to go about this situation. But the best thing that I'm doing right now is honestly just ignoring both of them. So I'm like, at the end of the day, y'all can keep pushing. I ain't responding or I ain't doing nothing unless God says something for me to do, So I definitely feel like this is good information because this could be anything for you. Is there something in your life that you dealt with or you committed to not doing and it's coming back and it's asking you, yeah, I know what you said, but could you just bend this rule one time for me? You say you wasn't going to hang out with those friends anymore, or you say you wasn't going to date this type of person anymore. You say you weren't going to use this type of language anymore. You say you wasn't going to eat this type of food. You wasn't going to go to these type of crowds. Like, what does this look like for you? What is the past bringing up to your future? Or what is the past bringing up to your present that could possibly hinder your future? And I really think that this is good because it teaches you to properly deal with what's really going on in front of you. And it teaches you to be aware of the surroundings and not just take that everything happens just to happen, but everything happens for a reason. So I could sit here and be ignorant to the things that are happening, like, oh, this crazy, he was thinking about me or something like that. But deep down, I'm just like, no, there's no way this just coincidentally happened right by each other when I'm in a season where I'm doing so good, I'm focusing, and this just happened all of a sudden. I'm like, no. And this is the same pattern that has happened before, and this is why I decided to not give in to my past. And I can honestly say that's just the recent thing that's happened. There's been plenty of things like with my spending habits. I've been in a place where like I'm bored. I'll bored shop, or I'll just stress shop, or I'll stress eat. And with those situations, we tend to lean back to our past. So now I'm in a situation where I'm trying to save and trying to do more with the things that I have. So when those type things come up, I have to decide, like, am I going to be a victim or am I going to overcome? Are you loving this episode? Great. Don't forget to leave your feedback by rating and leaving a review on Apple iTunes. Also, don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. And make sure that you follow us on Instagram to keep up in the know of what's going on with the podcast. Okay, let's get back to the episode. And I'm kind of at awe because I'm able to actually see these things taking place, because I was once in a place where these things would happen. I was just like, oh, this is just so crazy that it happened. But now I'm just like, nah, there's nothing coincidental about these things that are taking place. And I feel like at the end of the day, some of you may be like, well, one of these people are people that's supposed to be back in your life. I feel like at the end of the day, if one of these persons or both of these people are supposed to be back in my life, then God will make it known. He will make something happen that confirms in me that, okay, I need to engage with this person, or I need to communicate and do something with this person that allows them to be back in my life. But I decided to let them go and to move on with my life. So with that being said, you have to also take whatever you're going through and say, okay, what's coming back from my past that's just taking up my present right now? Like, what's hindering me from potentially being the best person that I can be for my future? Because right now in my present, that I'm still consuming my past. And I really think it can be a lot of things. It could be your mindset. It could be your spending habits. It can be the relationships that you keep. It could be the places you hang around. It could be anything. The music that you listen to. The thing. It's basically what is influencing you. What's influencing you right now that you said you were no longer going to do. And when you were on a good track, you were doing good. You wasn't engaging in those things. You weren't indulging in those things. And now it crept back on you, and you're now indulging in those same things that you said you weren't going to do. Because when you let those things go, you were the best person that you can be. And to continue to let those go, you have to continue to be the best person that you can be by letting them go. So I really hate to bring up the past, but I really think that is something that we often neglect. We don't really understand how important it is to overcome what it is that we previously went to and turn open wounds or old wounds into wisdom. So we have to take the lessons that we learned previously and use them to present. Because like I said, these things are the patterns that happen with these two guys, are the patterns that's been there. And in my moments of weakness, because I was vulnerable of being lonely, or like maybe this is God said He's sending me this person back to me, but God also told me to let these people go. So, why would God play with my spirit like that? Why would He put my feelings like that, or play with their feelings? So you have to be able to just think rationally and say, okay, what's really going on here? What's taking place for me to really rationally think about the decisions? Should I engage or should I just pull back? Because what am I going to gain by engaging in this situation? And I really think that that's something that we downplay. We don't really think about how the things that we do impact our today, our yesterday, and to our tomorrow. And I really think that you have to really look back at the person that you said you were going to become and remind yourself that I'm no longer this person. I don't talk the way I used to talk. I don't walk the way I used to walk. I don't say the things that I used to say. I don't act the way that I used to act. I don't indulge with the people that I used to indulge with. I don't hang around places that I used to hang around, because you're growing. In life, we're meant to grow. And if you're not growing, that just means you're stagnant. And if you're stagnant, you're not moving. So if you're not moving, you're not progressing. And if you're not progressing, what are you doing? I really feel like, at the end of the day, we have to take this stuff serious. Like, you have to be accountable for you. No one else is going to hold you accountable but yourself. And you have to be able to understand what it is that's going on in your life. These are put in your life for a reason. There's nothing that just happens by chance. You didn't meet this person just because. You didn't talk to this guy just because. You didn't talk to this girl just because. You didn't take this job just because. You didn't get that car just because. Everything happens for a reason. So you have to really discern, what is that reason? If I respond to these people, what is that going to do for me? Am I going to be back in relationships that should have never started or should have been ended, and I'm prolonging that situation? Or am I going to be back hurting somebody's feelings just to pass time because I'm waiting on a relationship that I'm praying for? Is that right? And at the time, it feels right, because it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'm not dating this person, but at least I got somebody to talk to. Or I'm just waiting for the person to come back around that I really love, and God told me to let it go, but I know He'll be back. So when He come back, I'll just let this other person go. No, we're not doing that. And so I had, like, God convicted me about it. He was just like, listen, no. And I also was telling my business accountability partner, my homegirl, I was telling her, I was like, it's funny because God put me in a situation where He was just like, listen, when I send you this man, I need you to know that this is the person for you. He's the one that I have made for you. And I don't really feel like there's just one person for us. I feel like at the end of the day, a soulmate is a soulmate. God sends you who you need. So if it doesn't work out with who you are with right now, it's going to work out later with somebody else. So don't think that, oh, God just sends you one person and that's just that. So no, God has someone for you. And if that someone doesn't work out, there's another person for you. So don't get wrapped up in, oh, there's one person. But anyways, I just want to clarify that. So yeah, so I feel like God is telling me specifically that, at the end of the day, I have this person for you. And I don't want you to no longer be in a situation where you have to choose between two people. And it's basically like the present or the past. And that's how I've been, honestly, previously, especially with the last guy I dated. I was talking to my ex-boyfriend, and getting to know him at the time. But with me and my ex-boyfriend, we weren't really, on good levels. We was just talking and just basically wasting each other's time. And with this new guy, we were just in the stage of getting to know each other. So, of course, naturally, I'm going to stick to the thing that I know best because that's what I know. And so I prayed about it, and I was just like, girl, I don't know what I should be doing. I don't know what's the right decision. Should I be getting to know this new person, or should I just be trying to work it out with this last person? So I fasted about it. I prayed about it, and God revealed so much for me later on after I made my decision about my past person, and I was thankful that I made the right decision. But that's a process, so it's like when God sends something to you, are you going to sit here and pass up a blessing because you can't discern, or you can't be a person that knows what's for you and what's not for you? And I like I said, that's just me, especially when it comes to dating. Even with the last two before that person, with the ex before my ex, me and him, that was another situation where I left an ex, and then I met this guy, and I was like, okay, guy. Well, and then the ex came back, and I'm like, okay, well, should I be talking to my ex, or should I be talking to this new guy? Like, what should I be doing? I feel like God is telling me, like, listen, Jasmine, we're not doing this year. We're not doing it no year. We're not doing this no more. So if I send you somebody, I need you to know that this is the person that I have for you. And it's only because you know this stuff. This person will pursue you the correct way. He will have every image of me. Not saying that he's just going to be a Bible scholar in the word every 24 seconds, but the way that he pursues you is going to be profoundly because of me, and the way that you guys interact will be profoundly because of me. So I don't need you sitting here praying to me, asking me 24/7, like, is this the person? Of course he wants me to have discernment and know that, pray about, going forward. But to be sitting here playing this, is this the one person game? We're not doing that. So I am obedient, and I'm understanding that. So I'm just like, okay, cool. So that's why in my singleness right now, it's important that I don't engage with people just to pass time, and I don't engage with people from my past that was led for me to let go, because in those seasons while I'm engaging those people, I could potentially be delaying the person that God has for me. Or in this season, this person could be pursuing another person, and they could be together for 5-10 years or whatever, because the person that I chose was a person that wasn't supposed to be chose in the beginning. And I really feel like that's, for me, it hits different, because I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Because how many times do we make decisions out of hastiness, or we make rash decisions, and we wind up after the decision has hit us, and it's like, I was never supposed to be here in the first place. Or like, have you ever found yourself in a conversation like, well, if you would have never done this, I would have never done that, like a tick for tat thing. So it's like you end up doing something that you didn't really mean to do anyway. You just did it because somebody else did something. So it's like, are you going to continue to have that cycle or that mindset, or are you going to stand above what it is that God has told you? And I feel like for me, I'm just like, listen, I really don't want to play the pick two game. Like, I really don't. Because I remember those seasons, and I was just like talking about it with my friends, like, girl, I'm dating this new guy, getting to know him, or not dating, but getting to know him, and then I'm still talking to my ex, and they're like, well, why are you still talking to such and such, and you trying to get to know this other guy? And I'm like, I don't know, because maybe I'm supposed to be with my ex, I don't know. So now I'm just like, listen, we're not doing that. So I really feel like God is just like, listen, you need to go through the season to be able to be prepared. So when I send this person to you, you know what it is and what it's not. And I also feel like God is telling you that. So whatever you're doing that you said you were no longer going to do, you need to stick with that, because when God sends you what it is that you're praying for, or what it is that you're believing Him for, you're not torn between the two. You're not torn between something that is attractive but is deteriorating, but you're attracted against something that's progressing, and it may not look as appealing, but it's better for you. It's like broccoli to chips. That was a bad comparison, but you get the gist. I definitely feel like it's really important to know what's for you and what's not for you. And you have to remember that if it was in the past and you left it in the past, you left it there for a reason. And sometimes we forget when the past has a tendency to slip up against us, we forget why we let those things go. And I think that's something and that's honestly somewhere I had to remind myself, like, why did I stop talking to this person, or what happened? And when you think about that, it immediately is like, oh nah, I ain't doing that. Like, we're not going back down that road. So I definitely think that you should also do that with any situation that comes up, because let me tell you, the past has a way of slipping into your present and trying to follow you into your future, and it's up to you to decide whether you're going to let that happen or not. If you're going to be a person that is contingent with their word, or a person that goes back on their word. So you have to really be steadfast and ready to take on the past when it comes back, because I guarantee you it will come back. It guarantees 99.9 times that it does, and it will come back. But are you going to be ready when the past creeps up on you? And will you be ready to make the proper decision that needs to be made in order to move forward with the right decision? And I also encourage you, if you're in a point where you can't really understand like anything that I'm saying, or you can't really understand like why things are happening the way they're happening, or you don't really understand like the aspects of behind what's happening in your life, then I highly encourage you to seek God. I definitely say pray for discernment to know, when situations come back to you, what are they really coming back for? Are they going to hinder you, or are they going to endure you? Like, are they going to progress you to the season that you need to go to? Or does it complement the season that you're currently in? And I think that's a lot of things that we don't look at those things. Like, when things come back from our past, we just like, oh, this is heaven sent, got to be, whatever it is. But you don't really think about what that thing had, how much of an impact that thing had on you. If it's people, how much they impacted you. If it's environments, how much that environment impacted you. When you go to this environment, are you like a different person that people don't really normally know about you? Like, they're like, oh, you're not the same in this room. Like, what's going on? Or is it a certain mindset that you have where it's like in real life you don't really carry that mindset until you go to this place? So it's like, what is it that your past is presenting to you in your present that may seem like it's good, but in reality it's not, because you decided that you were no longer going to do this. You were no longer going to indulge in this, and for some reason you slipped up and you're still here. So I definitely encourage you that if this has happened to you, because like I said, it's definitely happened to me right now, and I'm trying to stay strong, and I can't guarantee you guys that I'm gonna be headstrong on this whole time, but I'm gonna do my best, because now I understand the physics of life, and I know that when things come back around, it has one or two options, one or two motives. And the first thing that I want to do is just pray about it. Should I engage in conversation with these people? Because engaging in conversation with these people could honestly deter me from the path that I'm on. It can delay the blessing that God has for me, because if I'm wrapped up or decide to get in a relationship with either of these people, and the person that God has for me is around the corner, and that person tries to approach me, I'm not going to engage with them because I'm already with somebody. So it's like, you have to look at that at everything you do. How is me interacting with this interaction or situation from the past going to help me endure my present and prepare for my future? And if the past does not do any of those things, you have to let it go. And it may be hard, because the very thing that's creeping up on you could very, very, very easily reveal a lot of things that you may be going through. Like I said, at moments I have times where I'm lonely. I have times where I'm just like, God, I just wish I had someone that I could really talk to about other things. I had somebody that really I could just connect with, that at the end of the day, if something happens good for me, I don't want to just call my girlfriends or call my best friend or tell my sister that I can just call this person to talk. But am I going to compromise just having a conversation with someone that I shouldn't even be communicating with because of a season of loneliness? A season that only lasts for a few weeks or a month or so, and I could potentially be delaying something that is right around the corner that could bring me a lifetime of happiness. And I really think we don't really look at it like that, because it's like, that don't even matter. Like, sometimes I can be honest and say that certain things that present itself is just like, yeah, that's gonna sound good later, but right now it compliments me, so I'm gonna just go ahead and dibble and dabble here and dibble and dabble there. And I really feel like we have to be stronger. We have to have a different mindset. That's just like with people that you see who lose weight and they gain weight. And that's just because, they broke their eating habits. And one day turned into 2 days. 2 days turned into 2 weeks. 3 weeks turned into 4 months. You haven't eaten the way that you told yourself you were going to eat in a year, because you indulged in a thing that seemed good because you weren't getting those things. And sometimes it's okay to indulge if you have control. But if you can't control yourself and indulge yourself a little bit, then it's best to just walk away from that. Because if you decided, or for whatever reasons, you really needed to lose weight and now you're gaining back faster the weight that you just worked so hard to work off, was it worth it? And to be honest, I feel like the answer is no. It wasn't worth it. So I really think that this is really important. And I think it's crazy how this happened just coincidentally. I know I don't believe in coincidences, but coincidentally, around the time that I had to record this podcast, because I was just like, this is crazy. And I literally just said the words, I don't know if this is a test or this is an attack from the enemy, because he knows what I committed myself to doing, what I agreed to God to do, and God knows what I did. So is he just testing me on how much I'm going to stand by my word, or is the devil tempting me to how much I'm going to stand by my word and be committed to God? And that's also something that we have to look at when stuff have a way of creeping back up that we said we were going to do. For instance, if you're saying, I'm not going to have sex to marriage, but a person presents to you and you're getting a situation where sex is like on the table, then what? And I'm not saying that, if you do that and you slip up, you can't start over, because you can. But what happens when that next time comes around and then this time you're thinking about, the last time was so good. Like, what do I do now? You see what I'm saying? Like, you indulge a little bit and then you just indulge more and more. And then eventually you're back to having sex before you marry, and then potentially with somebody that you may not even marry. So it's just like, are you going to compromise a season that's going to last you a month or so for a lifetime of happiness, because you indulged a little too much and you thought you could control your indulging, but you can't, because initially we can't. And that may be the very reason why we had to let it go. And I really, like I said, if you're in a point where you're interacting with things that you say you weren't going to do anymore, or you're hanging around people that you say you weren't going to hang around anymore, or you're doing anything that you said that you weren't going to do because it did not compliment you as a person, it did not compliment your character, it did not help you endure where you at, and it's not going to help you prepare for where you're going, then you have to let it go. If it's your friends, cut them things off. If it's your people, cut them off too. If it's your job, find a new job. If it's the environment you hang around, find somewhere else to go. If it's money, you need to let that go and humble yourself. If it's drinking, if you're like drinking constantly because you're getting away from things, you have to replace that stuff, replace it with water, replace it with juice, replace it with soda, and then work your way down. But make realistic goals, make it realistic. Don't make it to where it's like, I'm just cutting everybody off, I ain't doing this, because it's not realistic. And you have to pray through the process too. Pray through for strength to do this, because if it's people that you've been around for 10, 20 years and you're used to them. I know for me, it's easy. Once I'm in my comfort zone, you got me hooked. Like, once I'm comfortable around you, it's hard for me to let you go unless I really, really see fit for me letting you go. But when it comes to a point where God is telling me, you need to let this go, you have to decide. And I feel like God told me that a long time ago about a lot of relationships, and I did what I wanted to do. And look where I'm at. Back at square one. So are you going to continue to go in circles, or are you going to go past go on the Monopoly board? Because I'm trying to go past go. I mean, I've been past go, but am I going to get there again? I don't know. We'll find out on the next episode. But again, just remember to tell your past, dear past, I am no longer who I used to be. And that is so serious, because you aren't. Because in life, we are made to grow. You grow from a baby to a child, from a child to a teenager to a young adult, to a young adult, to an adult, to an elder, to deceased. I mean, that sounds bad, but the motive is to let you know that we grow. It's like a plant. A plant goes from a seed to a weed to a flower to blossoming to a tree. It takes stages of growth, and in order for you to grow, you have to what? You have to prune, you have to weed, you have to water. You have to continuously nourish yourself with things that are going to help you grow, and that you can malnutrition what's being done in your life. So you have to take in stuff that complements you, that's going to grow you to where you're supposed to go. And if the things that you're indulging in, the people that you're indulging in right now do not help you grow, they're helping you stay stagnant, you need to let them go. And if you have a person where you're just like, well, they kind of help me, you need to go to God in prayer and say, okay, God, can you show me over these next 7 days what I should do regarding this person? Should I let them go? Should I indulge in conversation with them? Or should I continue to keep them in my life, but just set boundaries? But be realistic and be real with God, be real with yourself. And then when God tells you what to do, because I'm telling you, there's been points where I pray the same prayer and I'm like, I'm ready to let him go. I'm just, God, you give me the word. And I end up just like, oh, God, you said, and I get a little like stagnant, and I'm like, okay, prolong it. And I'm praying again, like, okay, God, I know you said this, but maybe I heard you wrong. And then God's like, listen, I'm not going to keep confirming stuff for you just because you want the outcome to be different. And I also talked about that in another episode. I'll link that down in the description box in the episode notes so you can check it out too. But God is not going to keep confirming the things that he already said. He's not going to keep repeating himself because you heard him the first time. There's a need for him to keep saying no to you when you know. No means no regardless. So at the end of the day, God is not going to say yes just because you wanted to. And let me tell you, I literally was talking to my homegirl about this earlier, and I said, I was talking to one of my friends a long time ago, right after I broke up with a guy that I was dating in high school, and I was sitting there and we were talking about the list that we make for relationships. And I was telling her, I was like, it's so crazy because I was telling her everything that I wanted in a potential spouse, and everything that I voiced was everything that my ex-boyfriend was. And it took me 5 years to realize that God was telling me, this is what you wanted, this is what I gave you, now what are you going to do? And this is the same person that God told me to let go. So I feel like God gives us the leeway when he knows that we're not going to be able to appreciate what it is that God is doing in our life. So he gave me the opportunity to see what it was like to have something that I wanted. And so I feel like God's at a point where he's like, okay, I gave you what you wanted. You had that. Now, are you going to let me give you what you need? And I thought that was crazy because, like I said, it took me 5 years to realize this. And I was just like, oh, this is the person that God sent me. He just heaven sent. He's everything that I wanted. And God was just like, yeah, okay. You'll see. And as time went on, I was just like trying to unpack it and trying to figure it out. And literally, it took me 5 years to sit here and say this and this to you. And I really don't want that to be you. I don't want time to pass you by and you just not realize what God is doing. Because at the end of the day, we don't really understand what we need until we have it. So yes, I really pray that you take heed to this information and that you don't let the past hinder you from your present and hinder you from a great future because of a season that you may be going through. Because I've done it over and over and over again. And now I'm just at a point where I'm tired of playing the circles game. I'm tired of going down the same path because I keep indulging in things that I was supposed to let go. So I pray that whatever you're going through and whatever is creeping up on you, or whatever you told yourself that you weren't going to do anymore, that you take the decision to decide fully that you're going to fully commit to letting it go. And again, that could be anything: people, environments, activities, places, work, money, idols, whatever it is. I pray that you get back to the person that you were before you took back on this situation. And I pray that you stay the same person that you said you would be, and that you grow into the potential that you have aside from those things, that they don't define you, that the things that you indulge in now complement you, they take you to different places, and that they have a place where you can really be the person that you're supposed to be. So I hope this episode was helpful. Hopefully you guys can relate to it. I pray that you continue to find your identity, and for the next 4 weeks or the next 2 weeks after this, I will be helping you get to that point. 4 weeks in total. So I hope that this helps you. Again, if you haven't heard of part 1, Dear Me, I really hope you catch that episode and listen to it. And I will see you next week on part 3 for Dear Present. We're going to talk about things that are going on right now that can help you find out who the person you are, because God needs you to take people where they're supposed to go. And if you don't know who you are, how can you lead someone to who they're supposed to be? So thank you again for tuning in. This has been another wonderful episode. I love you. Thank you. Bye. Keep shining as the gems you are.